Welcome back, everybody. We are continuing on the next chapter of Halloween Vibes, the novella in my Eternal Rest Bed and Breakfast Paranormal Cozy Mysteries. That is about a Halloween weekend at Eternal Rest that involves murder and a lot of mayhem. So here we go. Chapter 8. Emily was on the move before she even gave herself time to think about what she was doing. As she quickly closed the distance between herself and the woman in the rose print dress, she tried to decide whether she was approaching the woman to offer some comfort or to find out if this was yet another one of Joe's ex-girlfriends and a potential suspect. Maybe both, Emily decided. The woman looked close to Emily's age, probably somewhere in her mid-30s. Her hair was a frosty blonde, but the darker roots were nearly 2 inches long. The woman's blood-red lipstick was smeared from touching her face so much. Emily stopped a few steps away from the woman. "Ma'am?" she asked tentatively. The woman turned to Emily with red eyes. "Someone murdered my brother." Emily's heart sank. She had been so busy trying to figure out who might have killed Joe that she hadn't even stopped to think of his family. "I'm so sorry," she said sincerely. "Why don't we go sit down on that bench?" As Emily guided the woman to a nearby bench, she introduced herself and repeated her condolences. "Jacinda," the woman said thickly as they sat down. "Joe was my little brother. He and I had our differences, but I still loved him." "Of course you did. I hope the police find out who did this soon." Jacinda glanced in the direction of the gazebo. When she spoke again, there was an edge of anger in her voice. "I can think of a couple people who might have done it." Emily followed Jacinda's gaze. "You think Gloria and Bailey are suspects?" "Gloria wasn't good for Joe," Jacinda said. She wiped at the tears on her face, which only smeared her lipstick farther across her cheeks. "She drove him crazy. He never should have broken up with Bailey. Gloria does seem to be a bit emotional." "You have no idea. Bailey was sometimes a drama queen too, but if I had to put money on who killed my brother, I'd bet on Gloria." "You just said Joe never should have broken up with Bailey," Emily pointed out, "but it sounds like she didn't make it easy for your brother either." "I'll take Bailey's brand of drama over Gloria's any day." "You also mentioned you and your brother had your differences." Emily kept her tone neutral, trying to sound like she was making conversation rather than digging for potential information about Joe's murder. "May I ask what happened?" Jacinda gave a sardonic laugh. "You don't know? Here I thought everyone in Oak Hill had heard the gossip. If you've been in this town for a long time, then you probably remember fashionable finds." "Oh yeah, I grew up here, and my mom always took me there to buy new shoes for school." "It was my parents' store. When they retired, Joe and I took it over. Unfortunately, he didn't have much of a head for accounting or for business relationships. He burned through a lot of money, and he burned a lot of bridges." Emily nodded. "I did hear the store closed a few years ago." "I tried my best to pull the place out of debt. I even invested a lot of my own money. I wiped out my retirement, but it wasn't enough. Eventually, the store closed and I had to file bankruptcy." "Ouch." "Yeah." Jacinda gazed at the crime scene, where Detective Hernandez was chatting with 3 police officers. He seemed to feel the attention because he suddenly looked in that direction. His eyes caught Emily's, and he tilted his head and raised his eyebrows at her in a way that seemed to be asking if she was okay. Emily gave a slight nod and the barest of smiles. Content with that, Danny turned back to the officers and continued his conversation. "Are you all right?" Emily heard a man ask. She looked up to see the same man who had broken up the shouting match between Bailey and Gloria, the one, Emily remembered, who Bailey had sent off to work on a scarecrow. Danny had been checking on Emily, but the man was looking at Jacinda. "I'm okay, Robbie." Jacinda shook her head. "That's a lie. I'm a mess." Robbie leaned forward at the waist until his face was on the same level as Jacinda's. I'm so sorry. I came out here as soon as I heard. Bailey put me to work finishing up the costume shop's entry in the Scarecrow contest, but I'm just about done. After that, she and I can help you with anything you need. Jacinda reached forward and squeezed Robbie's hand. Thank you, but I think it's best if your boss steers clear. I know she means well, but the rest of my family, well, you know. Robbie nodded grimly. I know. In that case, you can call me if you need anything. Your parents don't even know me. Thanks. Jacinda gave Robbie's hand another squeeze, then let go. Robbie looked like he wanted to say more, but Jacinda was staring down at her lap, her shoulders slumped. He nodded briefly at Emily, then walked away toward the gazebo. Your family, I take it, didn't approve of Bailey? Emily asked. Jacinda gave herself a little shake and looked up. What? Oh, no, not at all. Joe broke up with Bailey. Then they got back together 3 times before it was finally over. The family was so sick of all the drama, and they blamed Bailey for every bit of it. They thought she was luring him back, like she was some kind of small-town siren. You disagree with that theory? Bailey's not a bad person, and she's not manipulative. Joe treated her the same way he treated our family business. But no matter how badly he behaved, he was always the golden child of the family. It was easy to hear the resentment in Jacinda's voice. Rebecca and Bailey were suspects. Wyatt was definitely still on the list, and now Joe's own sister was too. Emily agreed with Jacinda that Gloria was also a suspect. After all, Danny had said she didn't have an alibi during the time frame of Joe's murder. Emily shook her head. Was there anyone in Joe's life that didn't have a reason to be upset with him? Jacinda put her hands on her thighs and stood slowly. I'm going to talk to the police over there, she said. Thank you for helping me calm down. Of course. By the time Emily returned to the gazebo, it was only Trevor and Sage who were left. Sage had already packed up her seance tools, and Trevor was staring thoughtfully toward the crime scene. Another ex? Sage asked as Emily walked up. Sister. She quickly filled Sage and Trevor in on everything she had learned, ending with, we have to consider that she might have killed her own brother. Trevor shook his head. Stupid family grudges. His own family had been torn apart by a rift, too, and Emily had been dragged into its violent conclusion. 4 ladies, Sage said, all of whom had been crying, yelling, and otherwise acting out this morning. The question is, which one of them is faking it? Maybe none of them if Rebecca's husband is responsible for the murder. 5 suspects then, and Joe isn't saying a word. Emily glanced around. He hasn't come out of hiding yet? Sage shook her head, her lips pursed. I think all the ex-girlfriend drama has him spooked. I can barely feel his presence. He's somewhere around the square, but he's doing his best to lay low. Poor guy, Trevor said. I would do the same if I were in his shoes. Do ghosts even wear shoes? Emily asked. They wear whatever they want to wear, Sage said, as if ghost fashion were a totally normal topic. I once communicated with a woman who chose to wear sexy lingerie in the afterlife. She said she'd never had the guts to do it while she was alive, but being a ghost had freed her from her inhibitions. Before Trevor or Emily could remark, Sage raised a hand and waggled her fingers in a wave. Now, if you'll excuse me, Jen's bringing lunch to Seeing Beyond, so I can eat before my first appointment of the day. Em, call me when you learn anything. Sage turned and moved off in the direction of her office building, which was only a couple streets over from the square. Emily and Trevor slowly walked back to his car, trying to decide how they would dress if they, too, were ghosts with no inhibitions. A ball gown, Emily said as she slid into the passenger seat. Like in the prom photo Rebecca showed me, but bigger and fluffier and absolutely covered in crystals. Did you wear a big fluffy dress to your high school prom? Trevor asked. sparing a glance in Emily's direction before backing out of the parking space. No, I went for a slinky number. I had fun at my prom, but I wouldn't be a teenager again for anything. I was so awkward back then. Think of poor Kelly. She's stuck being a teenager forever. Yeah, but at least she doesn't have to deal with dating and pimples and all those other teenager things. Emily suddenly gasped and sat up straighter. Kelly, of course. Joe isn't talking, but Kelly might have some news. She volunteered to watch over the cemetery last night, so maybe she saw something. I can't believe I didn't think to check in with her earlier. Trevor didn't ask whether Emily wanted him to join her for the conversation with Kelly. When they reached eternal rest, he simply pulled into the guest parking area rather than dropping Emily off at the front of the house. He and Kelly hadn't gotten off to the best start, but these days the two of them were getting along well. Clint's car was the only other one parked out front, which meant all of Emily's guests were out. She hoped Rebecca had met back up with the rest of them, since she might need the extra support from her husband and friends in the wake of Joe's murder. With no guests to worry about, Emily thanked Clint for filling in and sent him on his way with $50 in cash. He grinned as he said goodbye, the money clutched in one hand, as he told Emily he'd gladly step in if she needed last-minute help again. Once it was just Trevor and Emily in the house, Emily went into the parlor and called Kelly's name. Kelly, you said you were going to stand guard over the cemetery last night. Did you see who stabbed Reed's pumpkins to death? After she asked the question, Emily took Trevor by the elbow and guided him to one of the front windows. Kelly almost never wrote responses if anyone living was looking, and Emily knew they had to wait to hear the pencil fall onto the floor before they could turn around. It was longer than usual before the pencil clacked against the floor, and Emily quickly crossed the room to her desk. Kelly had written, "The lady walked through the cemetery, so I followed her around. Later, I saw the pumpkins were wrecked. Someone did it when I wasn't looking. Sorry." Kelly had drawn a frowny face after that to emphasize her remorse. "That's okay, Kelly," Emily addressed the ghost. She knew Kelly was listening, even though she wasn't sure where in the room her presence might be. "You were smart to follow Rebecca. Where did she go? Did she leave the property?" Emily stared out the front window again as she waited for an answer, but Trevor had disappeared. She heard him a moment later in the dining room. When Emily glanced through the parlor doorway, Trevor was just coming into the hallway, balancing 2 trays. "Thought I'd shuttle the remains of breakfast back to the kitchen while we wait for Kelly," he said. When Trevor came back from the kitchen, Emily noticed he had another biscuit in his hand. Behind her, Emily heard the pencil and went to check Kelly's new message. She kept tripping over bricks in the cemetery, so she went to the yard. She walked around and around the house. I got bored and went back to the cemetery, and that's when I saw the pumpkins. Which meant Kelly hadn't seen Wyatt because she had returned to the cemetery sentry duty before he found Rebecca. Had Wyatt slashed up the pumpkins in the cemetery while Rebecca and Kelly's ghost had been in the yard? That, Emily knew, wasn't the most important question. Did Wyatt leave by himself to go kill Joe? "You think the husband did it?" Trevor asked after swallowing a big bite of biscuit. "I don't know. Rebecca didn't necessarily pace around the house for more than 3 hours. Either one of them could have driven downtown and killed Joe." "You said they came back into the house together," Trevor pointed out. "It sounds more like teamwork to me." Head on over to the next video for Chapter 9 of Halloween Vibes.